This is Justin AMZN on Monday, July 22nd, 2019. Take a look at the pre-market we had this morning. Looks like we're coming back up into the 1972 50 price from below, and I'm looking for this to be a resistance, and this resistance, looking for it to stay below. The next pivots that we've got are really around like 1978, kind of from here and here, maybe 1977, no, 1978. But if we can hold this 1975, I think there's more potential for this to roll over. Just like this was a really large retracement and rollover, I think we get a smaller one from this. This is starting to look a little bit like a double top. Obviously, it's not all the way back down here at the open, but that's kind of where I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little more bearishness. We did have this little flag along the bigger move here. And so the high in this candle was 1975.99. So if we can stay below that, I think that's still within kind of the perspective of this is the current resistance level. So let's step into the market, see how things played out. And we initially got a buy up that came almost 1975, and then got sold back down pretty sharply. And so if you were just watching the first 5 minutes, waiting for it to open and then setting up your trade, you don't want to get in down here. It's just too far down. This is about a $10 risk, and I don't know that it's got another $20 to go down today. I'd like to see it get into 1960. That was kind of the low we put in over here. Yeah, I like that as a nice round number rather than 1950. I think that's pushing it to get below this low and below this low both. I think it could really not get down to 1950 because it held up here. So anyway, in order to trade this down to 1960, we don't want to be shorting it here. We want to be shorting it up here. So let's wait. Let's look for an opportunity that it's going to come back up towards 1970, 1972.50, and see what we can do. So the next candle, okay, it moved down a little bit more, almost to 1960 already. And okay, it started to bounce. This is just not really a bounce, but this is a retracement into just about into this neckline here. Like I said, this wasn't really looking like a double top pre-market. We had to wait for the market to open, and because there's so much movement here in the open where it's just moved this $10, $12, $13, let's give this a little more time to retest, because this isn't really a candle that I want to go bearish on. We'll look for that type of candle if we can get it. This is making a higher high and higher low, and it's a bullish candle. Okay, this candle, now we've got an upper wick almost as high as this one, and now we're at the point that I'm going to zoom in on the day a little bit more. There we go. All right, we're making a candle. We've made a 5-minute candle that is inverted hammer. It's got a wick up here into this range, not quite as high as this one, so it's a lower high, and then with such a small body here and such a large upper wick, it really fits the description of invert hammer at a resistance. And just by this candle alone, you could set up a trade like 1970 by 1975, maybe 1974 would be really aggressive, but probably 1975. So that's about a $5 risk, and down to 1960, that'd be 2R. That's just looking at the stock. The options, different story, but we'll get there soon. All right, this candle means you're in, or you're waiting for an evening star reversal, which means you're getting bearish a little lower, like 1968, and your stop is up at like 1975. So that's a little smaller of a 2R, or I'm sorry, to get to 2R, you're down a little further. And so to get to 1960, you're only at maybe 1.5R, maybe a little more than that. It just depends on when you can get filled. All right, next candle. Oh no, the video, my screen just started doing the problem it was doing last week. I'm going to give it a minute and see if it recovers, but I'm guessing that the video actually has the same issue because it's showing up on the display. Actually, that's the first time it's done it. I'm assuming it's still recording. I'm going to try and look from another device and see if I can see the same issues. Trying to connect. Okay, I think it's just the video output. So it's just what I'm seeing on the screen, not the actual video that's recording. Okay. That's interesting. So I'm going to try and do the video here while looking at my phone that I've done a remote connect to the device I'm using, the Surface Pro that I'm using. All right, let's see how this goes. We're on our way down to 1960. Should be in, and either way, you're in if you had taken this. Move the next candle over, inside candle, next candle, where's it gonna go? Okay, there it goes. Moving a little bit lower. I've got my target set at 1960, or almost there. Okay, it's gonna, get a little bit of a bullish come in, but we made a lower low. This looks like just a little flag down here, bigger flag. Okay, got to see some bearishness, got to see this rolled back down pretty soon. At this point, I probably have my stop around 1970, 1971. I want to get it to break even pretty soon. So we're starting to roll back down. Okay, we're out. Target hit 1960. You're good. And it's yeah, it made it down to where we wanted to. So we can look at the options and see what happened. This week is options like this week is earnings, and so the options are much more expensive than usual because of the uncertainties going into Thursday night with earnings announcement, and so we're going to be a lot further out of the money than usual to do a move like that. But it worked really well. It made an inverted hammer, completely broke down over the next 5 bearish candles, put in a nice flag, and people were buying, looking to buy off the low of the day, and then it rolled back down and hit our target. So you're out. And at this point, I don't know that it's going to continue down any further, but it's another opportunity to buy down here. And so we'll look for kind of a buying candle if we are actually going to reverse. Just make sure we have a good risk to reward. So continue to step through the candles a little bit here. That's it's kind of a funny Morningstar reversal. It's really even just hard to see how it would look. It's more so just 2 candles, but you have to look on a smaller time frame. Now I like this one with a larger lower wick, and we do make a lower low. And I'm still seeing a little more bearishness than bullishness. So let's see if my cursor is going to show up. Okay. We had these 5 candles in a row making a bearish move, which is similar to over here where we had these candles all in a row making a bearish move. But after this, we had a little more, or only a little bit of a bounce and then roll back down. Now here, you've had a little bounce and roll back down, but now you're having another bounce and potentially another bounce. So already it looks like there's a little more bulls coming in at this level than there were yesterday. So we're still being held down by the 21, but I like that we're going a little more sideways than down. And it's giving us the opportunity to really get something set up that we could get a little more of a bullish move from here. So right here, what I'm noticing is I've got a bunch of bullish candles in a row. I'd really like to get a couple bearish candles. And actually, I would really like to get 2 bearish candles because that's what I did the last time. 2 or 3. I'd be okay with 2 if they're in the right location. It'd be great if we got them right now. Broke down a little bit, more bearish, load on, and then it just rips higher. But it's just about at the point that it's like a bracket trade right now, except that I'm thinking more bullish than bearish. So let's see what happens. Step one more candle in. There we go. Get a breakout. Not the bearish candle I wanted. I'm going to wait for the second bearish candle if we can get one. And I'll have the trade ready to go at that level and get in the very next candle, because that would have worked earlier with that hammer. All right, one bearish candle, two bearish candle. I'm in on that candle. So I'm in right here. Let's see. What price is this? Sorry, I'm trying to look at it, zoomed in my phone. There we go. I'm in like 1965, and I've got my stop probably around like 1962. So $4 risk. To go an hour and a half is about back up to the line. To go 2 hours is up to the downtrend line up here. So that's reasonable. They'll be making a similar high on the day, and see what happens up at that line. So you're in, it's going bullish, continuing up, and it's definitely looking like bounce. Here we go. Two more bearish candles. If I wasn't in, this would be a second opportunity to get in. And you're in up here, like 1967 maybe. That stopped probably below 1964. So maybe we could have gotten a little better risk reward here. Because we had, let's see if I can hover over. We had some resistance here that was around 1965, broke out, retested back into 1965, and then we're continuing higher. And here now we've held a higher low in this retracement. All right, so I'm going to continue moving over, moving candles. We're just trailing our stop. Your stop, okay. Right now you could move your stop up to like 1966 and just get really tight, because if it rolls over here, you want to, kind of be at the point you're about break even, but it could also bounce right here. This could be a secondary retest, and it starts to bounce. There you go. My stop is now probably 1967. It's breaking out. We're right up to 1972, some indecision, and we start to move even higher. So we're getting this bullishness coming in. If you look back over all of this, there's a lot more bullishness that's come in. Every time we got two bearish candles, that was an opportunity to get in, continue to be bought up, and it's just rolling. So you could have been out at this point, 1974, you could have been out. But if you're just trailing your stop, I mean, your stop should be like 1972 right now, maybe 1973. And it's just continuing on up. And I have to move the zoom on my phone. Hang on. All right, continue on up. And now your stop's like 1976. Continue to move up. We're retracing almost to 1990 at this point. Okay. We got 5 bullish candles in a row. We're almost to 1990. I would be taking something off because this is like the biggest bullish sprint we've had in a little while. You got some upper wick here. We've got a spike in volume, I think. Wait, hang on. Yeah, spike in volume. This could be exhaustion volume. It's trying to get up to 1990. And if it does, great. You're only leaving a little bit on the table if you're taking all your profit or some of your profit. But you want to get your stop tightened up here, because that volume says everyone else who didn't get in is getting in, and some bears are even getting in to roll it back over, because this is a good resistance we're getting into. Inside candle starts to break down. Okay, if your stop is right below that bearish candle with the upper wick, you should be trailed out right now. That's fine. Should have a really nice gain on it. If you're getting in bearish here, your stop is above 1990, somewhere tight, probably 1982 or something, and you're starting to make some money on this. It does pull back down to the 21 and then start to bounce, but then immediately rolls over, and this is just more bears coming back in. It's hitting stops. I mean, the bulls that were trailing stops, and has a little bit of recovery, a little bit of kind of an S curve here. Let me try and zoom back out and see what it does. Okay, on the bigger picture here, we're making somewhat of a double bottom from yesterday and the after hours to today. Pre-market and your neckline is right at 1972.50. And then this candle, whatever that is, actually retests back down to this level. But I kind of like the idea here that, we're already back up here after that kind of a retest. And it looks like we could continue to move up. Looks like we're actually above this line. I don't know if we'll continue because we made it above this line about this far away just on Friday and then roll back down. So we could be setting up for that to roll back down to this line or back down to this line and do another bounce. And even if we did that, that's a really nice, if you kind of zoom back out to, what is this, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday? Yeah. So if you come back all the way over here, this is an even bigger double bottom. And we're right at the neckline. And so it's a matter of, okay, are we going to go higher, or is this an accumulation where we're just, people are loading up, it's just moving back and forth, and we'll see if we can actually break out in the near term. So that's kind of what I've seen there. When I hardly looked at the charts at all today. When I actually set up my chart to do the video a little earlier, oops, too far. I was actually, I think I turned these on, it looked like this, and I, what I did is I double clicked on it to zoom back out, and then I realized, oh wait, I haven't seen what happened today. I'm going to zoom back in. So I quickly just went went something like that to just highlight something on the screen, and it put me back right about here. And then I got the video set up, and I knew a little bit of where the price action was in the morning, but I did go through this exercise myself, and what I just went through, getting the setup of about 1970 by 1975 down to 1960 for 2R, I did that, like just looking at what the candles were setting up. And it's a really good exercise if you can avoid seeing the market for a day, or go look at something you don't trade as much and just, kind of see what you know about the candles and see how things move and see if you can actually set a winning trade, or see what you would do to minimize your losses on a losing trade. But I just thought it was a good exercise to do. If we jump back over to the daily, we came back down almost to the 21, and then bounced nicely. We had 5 bearish candles in a row, so it makes sense we had a little bit of buying come in. And then the options, I was looking at, this is the 2050 calls. Like I said, we're a little further out of the money just because of the prices. And I liked how this got into the range of between like 11 and 12. Would have really liked it to be between like 9 and 10 or 10 and 11, but gave a lot of opportunities to get in, even at $12 with a stop at 11. Way down as it was starting to bounce over in here, and maybe not quite 12. I think this was right at 12, maybe 12.50 by 11.50 over here, and then that just ran. And it had some really spotty volume throughout the day, but that's happening this week just because the options are more expensive. And so I don't know if people are waiting or they're just buying less contracts because it's that much more expensive. But this was a really nice move. The point at which you could have been taking profits was getting in at like 12.50 and getting out kind of at the high here around like 14 from the high earlier in the day. And that would have been a 1.5 hour gain. That would have been really nice. If you had just held it and tried your stop, then you had opportunities to get out even higher. Than like, see, this was 16.50. That would have been 4R. Getting at 12.50, getting out at 16.50, and stop at 11.50. That would have been really nice. And then if we look over at the puts as well, we've got the initial spike, drop lower, the retracement that we were looking at into 1972.50, and then you could have really been buying here. Again, a little bit more difficult to buy, but right at 14 by 13, and this is with the 1900 puts, and that moved to our pretty easily. Actually moved a little bit further, giving an opportunity to get in up here and still scalp an R or something. But you could have been taking profits up here around like 1750. So in at like 14, out at 1750. That's 3.5R of the high, or even 14 up to 17 would have been 3R. It's just more expensive, in both directions. What's interesting then is the put just completely went straight down for a couple of hours as the stock was doing this kind of a move. So, or I'm sorry, as the stock was doing this kind of a move over here. Sorry, waiting for it to load. Yeah, so all the while that we were going like this, the calls just lost all their value, well, not all, but most of the value. So, there was plenty of time to get in. The bullish setup, the bearish setup was pretty quick, but we had another day where we kind of did a U-shape. We just continued much higher after that initially, and that lasted, about 4.5 hours, 4 hours maybe, until we got back up here into this resistance. And then, as you can see, we didn't really even pause much at all here. We made these highs, and we didn't even retest that during the day today. I mean, we had a lower wick over here, but we didn't really pull back enough on that one to say, okay, here's your true bounce off of these upper wicks. No, it's that 1972 50 line and this downtrend line that we're now above it again, and it looks a little more bullish. The other thing I didn't point out is that we've got a squeeze forming through here. And so you're switching from bearish momentum waning to bullish momentum growing, and all the while you're just you could just have it set up, like I said, where you get in a pullback, and each of these pullbacks into the 21 worked as a great buying opportunity, and until we broke out, and then we actually came back through it a little bit here, but again, then we recovered and bounced. So a lot of opportunities still, even though the options were expensive. Just buy those contracts and make sure you size appropriately. But we're still looking for $100 risk trades and seeing how things can work out. Look at the 5-minute. So I hope this helps. I really hope the video works, because I'm not seeing what is currently should be getting recorded. And I don't really want to go through all this again, but it's really good practice, really good exercise. So I hope you're stepping through the candles, maybe pausing the video and figuring out, okay, what am I doing here? What is the candle telling me? And what's the sentiment there? And, how can I be on the right side of the setup? So those are good questions. And hopefully we'll get things working again for me to see and not have to look through the phone. But like I said, hope this works. Hope you're enjoying this video. This is just AMZN. Thanks.